One man speaks in riddles. Another one plots in silence. While Hamlet reflects on the strange journey of the human body beyond death, Claudius is already planning to murder him. The conflict between wit and political power reaches an altogether different level in Hamlet's Act 4, Scene 3. As the scene opens, we see King Claudius speaking directly. I have sent to seek him and to find the body. The body here, of course, refers to the body of Polonius. How dangerous is it that this man goes loose? We have always seen Claudius maintain this idea that Hamlet is a dangerous madman. And he goes on reinforcing this idea so as to justify any kind of future punishment that he will have to inflict upon Hamlet. Yet, must not we put the strong law on him? The thing is that he is in a powerful position at the moment, but he doesn't want to jeopardize that. And this is because, number one, Hamlet is the Prince of Denmark and he is a scholar, and usually people sympathize with his situation because he has lost his father. So Hamlet is a politically valuable entity, and it's not so easy to do away with him, execute him publicly, or declare any kind of punishment on him. So what is his other option? He is loved of the distracted multitude. Claudius is aware of the kind of popularity that Hamlet has, and he says that the multitude or the commoners, they are distracted. They have this bias towards Hamlet, and where it is so, the offender's scourge is weighed, but never the offense. So if he punishes Hamlet in any way, then the punishment or the scourge will be seen as something very harsh. It will be judged as a harsh one. People will not look at the offense that Hamlet has caused. To bear all smooth and even, this sudden sending him away must seem deliberate pause. So he has planned this sending away of Hamlet as a way out, because he wants to pause whatever development is achieved by Hamlet against him. Diseases desperate, grown by desperate appliance, are relieved. So he considers Hamlet's growth against him as a disease which is quite uncontrolled, and in order to control it, he must adopt some desperate means. So this metaphor of disease is very strongly placed here. Then we see Rosencrantz enters. And in the previous scene, we have seen that Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, they have a conversation with Hamlet and they have brought him here. So Claudius asks him that what has happened? What hath befallen? Where the dead body is bestowed, my lord, we cannot get from him. So Hamlet has not revealed to us regarding the location of the dead body. But where is he? Without, my lord. So he's outside, guarded to know your pleasure. So Hamlet is waiting at the door. Bring him before us. So Rosencrantz addresses Guildenstern, who is apparently the guard who was guarding Hamlet outside, that you bring in Hamlet. Oh, Guildenstern, bring in my lord. So now Hamlet and Guildenstern, they enter. Now Hamlet, where is Polonius? Of course, it is not the living man who is referred to here, but Claudius simply wants to know where Hamlet has hidden the body of Polonius. At supper. Now this is a very, very witty remark, and he will explain afterwards. At supper. So he's having his supper where? Not where he eats, but where he is eaten. Now this is a very dark turn of words. Yes, Polonius is at supper, but it is not his supper. He is rather the food. So who is eating? Well, the worms. A certain convocation of politic worms are even at him. Now, since it is Polonius's body, the worms are also politic worms. So this is again a very interesting, witty comment by Hamlet. Your worm is your only emperor for diet. Now, this is a very true thing that he talks about, that the worm is like the emperor of the food chain. Why? Because you see, human beings, they consume other animals, and then those animals consume plants, but at the end of it, after human beings die, even if they are kings, they are consumed by worms after they are buried. So he says, we fat all creatures else to fat us. So we consume other creatures, and because we want to consume them, we make them feed on plants so that they get fat, we get more nutrition, so we get fat, and at the end of it, we are consumed by worms, and we fat ourselves for maggots. Your fat king and your lean beggar is but variable service, 2 dishes, but to 1 table, that's the end. So it's a strange kind of democracy in death, a strange kind of equality in death that Hamlet is talking about. Alas, alas. A man may fish with the worm that hath eat of a king, and eat of the fish that hath fed of that worm. Now, this is the cycle he is referring to, the cycle of food, the cycle of life, that maybe a fisherman who uses worms to fish, he catches a fish using a worm, and that worm might have fed on a king's body. So that fish is getting indirect nutrition from that worm, and then from the king. And when that fisherman eats the fish, then the chain is continuing. So the fisherman is actually consuming the king in some way. It's a very, very dark way of looking at the food cycle or food chain. And obviously Claudius is quite intrigued by all of this, and he knows the literal meaning that nature makes no distinction between kings and ordinary people, but he wants Hamlet to explain to him, why is Hamlet talking about this? What does you mean by this? Nothing but to show you how a king may go a progress through the guts of a beggar. So this is how, you get one with nature, and then you have no control as to where you are reaching, who is consuming you after you're gone. Claudius is clearly very, very uncomfortable, and he wants to stick to his main point, where is Polonius. In heaven, send hither to see if your messenger find him not there. Seek him in the other place yourself. So he first says that Polonius is in heaven, and you can send somebody to check. Obviously, that means that the king has to kill a messenger, because otherwise how can the messenger go to heaven? And then he says that maybe he's not in heaven, but in the other place. It doesn't use the word, but it is hell he is referring to. And then he says, you go yourself and check. That is, he feels that Claudius deserves to go to hell, so it is better that he doesn't send a messenger like he would do if it is for heaven. He should himself go and check if Polonius is in hell. But indeed, if you find him not within this month, but if you can't manage to find his dead body within this month, then what will happen? His dead body will rot, right? And then he says, you shall nose him, you can smell him as you go up the stairs into the lobby. Now the thing is that he's constantly, getting back to the idea of physical decay, that death is physical, bodies rot, no matter what you are, the king or the beggar, you reach the same destination, and power cannot prevent decomposition. So this continues the imagery of worms, dust, corruption. Okay, so he continues with that idea. Claudius understands that this is the location of the body, stairs into the lobby, because he is saying that if you can't find the body of Polonius, you'll be able to smell him around the stairs. That means the body is around that place. So he asks people to go and seek him there, that is, find the body of Polonius. And then Hamlet addresses the people who are going away. He will stay till you come. So don't worry, Polonius is not going anywhere. You don't have to rush. His body is where it is. After they go out, Claudius is directly talking to Hamlet again. Hamlet. And Claudius has always this very irritating, condescending tone with Hamlet. You see, Hamlet, this deed for thine especial safety, which we do tender. He wants to give this idea that Hamlet is in danger because of the murder he has committed, and he wants to protect him. As we dearly grieve for that which thou hast done, what you have done is a very bad thing. We grieve for it. Must send thee hence with fiery quickness. So, what has happened is that the murder of Polonius has given Claudius the exact excuse for sending Hamlet away, and he uses it very promptly. Therefore, prepare thyself, the bark is ready. Bark means the ship, because ships were originally made from wood, so they are often referred to as the bark. And the wind at help, so the wind is also in favor of sailing away. The associates tend, and everything is bent for England. So you are to leave for England. For England, I, Hamlet, good. So Hamlet is not very expressive. He's just using short reactions. And from his reactions, Claudius understands that Hamlet already had some idea that he would be sent away like this, because he doesn't give off a very weird reaction. He just says, okay, fine, England, fine. So is it, if thou knewest our purposes, so were you aware that we were about to send you away? I see a cherub that sees them. Cherub is a guardian angel. So he says that I have a heavenly angel who sees your purposes. Now, we as audience or readers, we know that Claudius's purpose is not to send Hamlet to safety, but rather to send Hamlet to his doom. Now, when Hamlet, who is also aware of this, says that a heavenly cherub knows about your purposes, it means that he is giving this idea to Claudius that I know more than you want me to know. But come for England. But he says, never mind, I'll go to England. And then he says a very strange thing. Farewell, dear mother. Claudius wants to correct him. Thy loving father. Hamlet, I'm not your mother, I'm your father. My mother. No, you're my mother. And why does he say that Claudius is his mother? He explains. Father and mother is man and wife. Man and wife is one flesh. Well, it is again from the Bible. And so, my mother. So see, you have married my mother. You and my mother are one flesh. So it doesn't matter whether I call you what. I don't have to call you my father because you are same with my mother. So you are my mother. Come for England. Now, the thing is that why does he address Claudius as dear mother? It can be seen as a very interesting idea. You see, Hamlet has always associated, like we have seen him throughout this play, that he has associated masculinity with honor, courage, his father, okay. And whenever he refers to women, be it his mother, be it Ophelia, we see a kind of association with moral corruption, femininity, reflecting Renaissance gender assumptions. So yes, you might not like the way it is, but Hamlet does show these tendencies in him. And by calling Claudius mother, Hamlet symbolically strips him of the masculine authority he claims as both king and father. So he does not call him the father, because that would put Claudius on a more authoritative throne. Okay. This is less about insulting women and more about denying Claudius the patriarchal status he wants to occupy. And another interesting way of looking at it, although I must warn you that the interpretation I'm going to give now of this expression mother has nothing to do with how Renaissance people or language during those times used the idea of mother. You see, when he was talking about the purpose, Claudius has some purpose, and Hamlet sees that plan through that heavenly angel, and then he refers to Claudius as mother. So it might again, this is again an interpretation which you might offer as an alternative way of reading it, that mother is like a creator. So he is saying that you are the creator of this plan, you're the hatcher of this plan, so you're the mother of this plan to kill me. So in that case, you can talk about this expression mother in this context. But then again, I told you that this is not from any actual interpretation during Shakespeare's time, but an extension. Yeah, because, well, when we read any kind of literature, we are free as readers to form our own associations in our minds. After he exits, we have Claudius. He is still not alone. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are still there. So this speech which you have after this is kind of broken a little bit. Like 4 lines are addressed to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, and after that you have the soliloquy of King Claudius. So first he instructs Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, and we know what those instructions are about, to haste and take Hamlet away from here. Follow him at foot, tempt him with speed aboard. Delay it not, I'll have him hence tonight. I want him away today itself. No more delay. Away, for everything is sealed and done that else leans on the affair. So everything is already done. Sealed means he has written some letters addressing the King of England, and the only thing that remains to be done is getting Hamlet on that ship. Pray you, make haste. So Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, they rush out. And then the soliloquy. Claudius, and we are again mute with attention, because soliloquies are where the innermost desires, concerns, thoughts, they come up on the surface, and we can get a glimpse into the characters and their real intentions. So Claudius, he speaks to himself and we hear him. And England, so he is addressing England. Of course, this is like an apostrophe. If my love thou holdest at aught, of course, this is not real love. This is political relationship he's talking about. And he feels that England is supposed to offer him a service. Why? So this sounds friendly, but it is actually a diplomatic threat that he is about to give. As my great power thereof may give thee sense. Historically speaking, he's talking about the moment in history when Denmark was more powerful than England, and England had lost a battle and hence was under the dominance of Denmark, although not directly under the rule of Denmark, but there was a relationship of dominance where the dominance was enjoyed by Denmark. Since yet thy cicatrix is the scar that is left by any wound. So he says that your cicatrix looks raw and red. It's not yet healed. So when does a country get a wound? Of course, in battle. That means England is wounded by Denmark, and this has happened in recent past, and England has still not recovered from it after the Danish sword. So Denmark has overpowered it in recent past, and thy free awe pays homage to us. And the fact that England is still a free country is because of Denmark's political position. Denmark has chosen to let England remain free. So England needs to pay that back. And how does a country pay back? By doing these acts and services to the king. Thou mayst not coldly set our sovereign process. So he expects a genuine warmth, very prompt service from the English throne, which imports at full by letters congruing to that effect. So he has written letters to the King of England, explaining everything, what has to be done. The present death of Hamlet, do it, England. So in those letters, he has expressly given the idea that the bearer of this letter has to be killed. That kind of a thing was written there. Hamlet has to be executed. For like the hectic in my blood he rages. And he constantly refers to Hamlet as the disturbance in his life, the disease that he has to deal with. And he continues in that idea. And thou must cure me. So England must help him get rid of this menace. Till I know it is done, however, mayhaps my joys were never begun. Almost sounds like Macbeth. This is not the moment when I'm happy. I'll have to do something else to bring happiness, to bring security. It is also interesting that this address to England reveals Claudius's character, because he assumes diplomacy is based on fear, military strength, obligation, and it reveals how Claudius looks at politics in general. For him, relationships are based on power rather than trust. Now, the thing is that in Saxo Grammaticus, that is the source of Shakespeare, where we have this tragical history of Hamlet, England really is subordinate to Denmark. And Shakespeare inherited this medieval legend. He's not inventing England's subordination. He's following his source. However, try to imagine the scenario where this play was acted on stage. It was England, Elizabethan England, all powerful Elizabethan England. The audience completely English. So under Elizabeth I, when England had become a major European power, the Elizabethan audience were not under any Danish rule, right? So there's this ironic tension between the legendary setting and the contemporary English pride, and English people are proud, if nothing else. So Claudius's condescending view of England would likely have enforced the audience's dislike of Claudius. Like, English audience would not like Claudius. And then, of course, this is not something because of patriotism or anything, but, the way he is talking about England, if you are an English person, of course, you would hate that man, won't you? I'm not saying this was deliberately done by Shakespeare, but then this was the effect which must have been there in the air when it was performed. So there we come to the end of the scene, and I was having this thought, you see Claudius, man of action, snap, murdered his brother, snap, married his sister-in-law, snap, decided to send Hamlet away, snap, asking everybody to rush it. We cannot accuse him of procrastination. We cannot accuse him of delay, of overthinking. We cannot accuse him of any of the crimes or rather faults or follies that we accuse Hamlet of having. He is everything that Hamlet is not. And throughout the history of dramatics, tragedies, we have seen action being glorified. Actions are glorified in life, relationships, political decisions. And that is the reason why sometimes we have this idea that Hamlet is against this idea of heroism, because he doesn't contain in him the factor of action. But how does it change anything for anyone? I mean, Claudius, the man of action, how does he end? Does he end any different than Hamlet, the man of inaction? Or do they end up with some different kind of fate? No matter which fate they end up with, which destination they reach, this scene has already given us the essence of it. That at the end, it won't really matter. At the end, whether you took action or not, won't really matter, because everything goes down to the worms. I'll see you next day with the next scene. We'll try to see if Hamlet manages to escape and what happens to other characters lurking all about. Till then, stay subscribed. This is Monami Mukherjee signing off. Bye bye.